From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Well, good morning. It's great to have you here. You have reached a live taping of the Badass Counseling Show. Lightning round, whether you are checking in from Perth, Australia, Bergen, New Jersey, or Canada, or perhaps anywhere up in Northwest Minnesota, wherever you may be checking in from, it is super terrific to have you joining us. I am joined in studio by my comrades. Over in the booth is KC, always silent or almost always silent, and Rob the Rocket sitting next to me. Rob, what say ye today, my man?
Well, I was thinking about what you say about a change in behavior never changes behavior.
Long term.
Try and do that long term, right? And I heard this story. Actually, I read it about a Buddhist teacher who was asked people meditate, but it really doesn't help them. Because he says, well, if you won't get the benefit from meditation as long as you're meditating to get the benefit. It's kind of Zen, right? But it makes sense. You got to clear out the other stuff first.
Wow, that's it.
You folks can't see Sven, but he's really thinking about it.
Boy, that motherfucking Zen fucker's got me going here. All right. And that's right. If you're constantly having to meditate, if you're constantly having to come down, and bring yourself back to center, that means you're basically fighting against yourself. You're basically or if you're constantly coping, you guys hear me say it a lot. If you're always coping, you're not healed because you're still fighting against something inside yourself, right? Isn't that basically what that dude's saying?
I'm not surprised. You got it.
All right. Wow. I'm not as dumb as I look, to which my father would say, not that that's possible.
Right ho.
All right. Well, Rob, let's go. Here we go. First question is from JB from TikTok. Says, you say healthy people are not in unhealthy relationships and 100% have learned and healing. There's not a question there, but I'm going to take that one anyway. What I say in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, is that healthy people do not get into relationships or long stay in relationships with unhealthy people. Hear me again. Healthy people do not get into relationships with unhealthy people, and they don't stay in relationships, at least not for a long time, with unhealthy people. So if you're in a relationship and your partner is saying, oh, I'm healed, I'm healthy, you're the unhealthy one, total load of shit. Why? Because a healthy person, by definition, won't allow into their most intimate relationships someone who is unhealthy because they know the taxation it takes on them. They will distance themselves from that person. Why? Because it just takes too much of a toll. They're investing more and more into someone who is taking more and more out. Healthy means maintaining healthy boundaries. Healthy means that I'm getting out what I'm giving in. Now, if they're doing it as a gift, all right, they're giving, let's say, those 2.5 years that I spent living on the streets and ministering to the poor of Oakland, California. I did that not to get it out, not to get something from those people. I did it because I wanted to give to humanity. That was what I was getting out, a good feeling of knowing that I was giving something to humanity. But you won't stay in a relationship or get in a relationship if you are a healed person. Or let's say you are the person saying, well, I'm healed, but it's my partner that's the problem. I'm like, yeah, okay. No, that's not how it works. All right, so yes, and the truth is, none of us is ever 100% fully healed, but I also don't agree. I mean, there's always little bits and pieces. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh God. And I'll have a memory from like 10th grade biology class when I embarrassed Mrs. Ellingson, the teacher, and she was so sweet and everything. And I'm like, oh God, Sven, you're such a dumb shit. And then I'll have to release on that or journal a little bit on that. And then I get it out of my system. So teeny tiny little scraps or whatever. But basically, yes, people say, oh, healing takes a lifetime. No, it doesn't. No, it really doesn't. And furthermore, healing shouldn't take a long time. Hear me on that. Healing doesn't have to take a long time. That if you go deep enough, transformation can happen really quickly. But a transformed, healed person will not go into or stay in a relationship with an unhealed person. All right. All right. Here's the next one. This is coming in from Geraldine Langella on Facebook. I walked away from a relationship, I thought. He is a dismissive avoidant. My intuition, based on this experience, tells me to continue the no contact and move forward. Correct? All right, just so everyone is aware, I am not a psychologist. I don't deal in psychology. I have immense respect for psychology. I am not a psychologist. So if you put in psychological terms, I'm likely going to walk right past your question. I got, because of Facebook, you guys leave these longer questions, and sometimes I'll get halfway into a question, I'll be like, ah, shit, now I got to take it. I like TikTok because it forces you to write shorter questions. And I prefer if you do. But in this case, I'm going to take it anyway because I got into it. The dismissive avoidant, I'm pushing that to the side. I'm not even going to touch that. You're basically saying I walked away from a relationship. That alone is enough. You walked away for a reason. It didn't ultimately feel good. Regardless of what your quote unquote reasons are, you walked away because it didn't feel good. It was sucking the life out of you. And my intuition based on this experience tells me to continue the no contact and move forward. Yeah, if you walked away, yeah, continue no contact. This is like and you're saying, is that correct? Is that the right tack? And I always say, what feels right to you? And the truth is, you wouldn't be raising it to me right now unless you weren't quite fully sure. So I'm going to say this. This is like the question when people say, oh, can we be friends? Let's be friends, and that sort of thing. I always say, you know what? When people say, can you be friends with somebody after you've had a relationship? And my response is, oh, hell yeah, you can be friends, just not right away. Why? Because if you've had a close, intimate relationship or where one of the persons, it doesn't always have to be both, but where one of the persons has been very intimately in love or really wanted the other person, that person will not be able to make the shift to friendship right away, which means one of the persons is going to be holding on still. And so making it friends, if that person recommends we be friends, what they're basically saying is, please leave the door open and I'm going to try to sneak in that door. We have a cat living with us now. One of our daughters is back living with us. And that cat that she brought back is always trying to sneak out the door. Okay. The person saying, if they're still holding on, they're still in love, they're going to try to always sneak in the door if you leave that door open. That's why I'm not a fan of soft walkaways or slow walks out of a relationship. Or if the person walking away is saying, oh, let's be friends. What they're really saying is, I want to walk away, but I don't have the balls to just walk away and end it. Maybe you'll be friends a year from now or 3 years from now, but not right now. And by you not walking away and making a hard stop, what you are fundamentally doing is you are leaving the crack in that door open. Guess what you are going to have? I'm now going to switch from felines to canines. You're now going to have a little puppy following you around saying, can I come in the door now? Can I come in the door now? Can I come in? And they're going to become so fucking annoying that in about 3 months or about 6 months, you're going to say, no, you can't come in the door. I'm sick of this. I got to end it. I got to do hard stop now. You know what? You really would have saved that little puppy a whole lot of heartbreak if you would have just shut the door to begin with. It's like when you tell your kids you're divorcing. Don't tell them you're separating first if you're not separating. Or if you know you're going to divorce, don't do that sort of soft landing crap because you're going to break their heart twice. Tell them you're divorcing. If you're divorcing, don't say, oh, we're going to separate and daddy's moving out, and then later tell them you're divorcing. Tell them you're divorcing. Why? Because if you tell them you're separating, they're holding out hope that you're going to get back together. If you tell them you're divorcing, they're going to be holding out hope you're getting back together anyway. But if you tell them you're separating, you're really, really holding out hope. All right, so same thing. And so you're asking, should you basically maintain no contact? Yes, maintain no contact, draw a hard boundary. That's going to make it easier for you to move on. If you guys choose to have some sort of friendship later, hey, great, God bless you. But for now, it's not going to freaking work. All right.
Hey, Sven, over on YouTube, Jabe, or maybe it's Jabe from Belgium, asks, why do I feel I don't deserve any of my achievements? It's like 100 voices are saying I'm a fraud.
Because Jabe asks on YouTube, how come I don't feel like I've earned my achievements? It's because since you were a kid, you have had voices inside of you telling you, criticizing you, tearing you down, telling you you're not worth it, you're no good, and so on and so forth. So guess what? If you do that to a child, let me ask you this, to the rest of you, have you ever been in a relationship as an adult, like in your 30s or in your 50s, and you're with someone, let's say it's 2 years, or maybe you've been together a long time, but maybe there's been like a 2 year or 5 year period, and you're a full functioning grown ass adult. All right, logical, right, reasonable. You have a good income and so forth, but they're hectoring you and hectoring you. They're like, gosh, you're so irresponsible, or you're such a narcissist, and you're so selfish, or you're such a bitch, and you're always this, and you're always this, and they hector you and hector you over time, and let's say over 2 years, over 5 years, and you start to believe it, and you start to believe that you're a jerk. And it's just like, and then it's like the people who always come into me for counseling. They say, "Am I crazy?" They start to believe they're crazy because they've had a spouse or maybe a husband telling them, "You're just a crazy woman, you're a psycho," or a wife telling them, "You're such an asshole, you're such a narcissist." And they come into me, "Am I?" And they're believing it themselves because they've had this person, this intimate person, this person they trust, this person they love telling it to them for so long that they believe it themselves. How much more so a child? Think about that. That a child, if a child gets criticisms at 2, at 4, at 7, at 9, at 13, at 15, at 17, is being criticized. "Oh, you're not enough this. You're too much that. Oh, you'll never be more than that. Oh, you can't do that. That's a dumb idea." How much more so will that child believe that they're stupid, that they're no good, that they'll never amount to anything? How much more so will a child believe, "I'm no good. See, I'm unlovable. See, I'm no good. I didn't really earn that. Oh, they gave it to me. Oh, I'm no good." How much more so that undeveloped brain? How much more so that child whose soul is like putty, is like wet cement? Those messages get pressed in. And then people, naive, dumb people, older people say when that child turns 18, "Oh, you need to get over that childhood crap. You need to just get over it and move on." Oh, really? Really? Because when you're 50 and you get those messages from a partner, you can just get over it? No, that's why you're going to your therapist. Ask, "Am I crazy?" Well, then why should a child be any different? So you, Jabe, as an adult, you're saying, "How come I can't?" Because you've got messages inside of you that got pressed into the wet cement of your soul as a child, and those messages hardened. And they became the virus infecting the operating system of your soul. And those viruses are so deep, you actually believe those viruses are you, and they never were. See, it's impossible for a child to be inherently unworthy, inherently unlovable. And the truth is, until you go back and begin to mine your authentic self, mine it like you're mining for gold, and begin to find those authentic messages and identify where those came from, like X-Men Origins, the movie. You've got to find messages inside of you, origins, and where they came from. And begin to dive into the fact that someone actually taught a child these messages, that they're unworthy, that they're no good, because you actually believe that shit now. It's bullshit. It was bullshit then, it's bullshit now. You absolutely earned those. Who earned those for you? That's bullshit. Of course you earned them. Of course you're worthy. Of course you're good. That's why I wrote my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. That's why we do this podcast. Do you think Rob does all the hours he puts into this podcast for like his health, or because it makes him look even sexier? He can't get any sexier.
Oh.
The point is, you got to go into those deep, dark things. What were you going to say, Rob?
Jabe even had said, it's like I hear 100 voices, and Jabe's joining us from Belgium, and he says, "Oui, monsieur." He wrote that, or she, I'm not sure. "I have been in relationships with a friend who says I am pretentious."
Right. And here we go. First of all those voices that you hear, Jabe, ultimately boil down to one voice, maybe two voices. It's not a whole bunch of voices. It's always one that is greater than all the rest. Always. Always. If I were to be sitting right here having a good Belgian beer, those strong ones that are like 80% alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like drinking Everclear and you're wasted after like 2 sips. If we were having a good Corson Dunk, right? And I asked you, whose does it really boil down to? Whose voice carried the most pain, or whose voice do you most fear, or whose voice resonates loudest? I guarantee it's probably your mother or your father, maybe a step parent. Okay. And then, but you say, people tell you you're arrogant or you're pompous or whatever. And I was the same way for so many years. I swear to God, anybody who knows, I went to my 40th high school reunion. Anybody who knows me from high school knows that I was an arrogant dick. Why? Because the person who is having their worth confirmed least is the one who is proclaiming it most. You have to say it. You're putting on a shell to cover up for the opposite message inside. Because you can't bear the thought that you feel unloved, unworthy inside, and so you have to proclaim it to the world, which is the grand irony of the braggart and the bully. The one person we want to compliment least and give love to least is the one who needs it most. All right, next question. We have Devil Blues, regular on the show, coming back with, always has great questions. I always enjoy Devil Blues questions. Saying, hi, Sven. Hi. You say, quote, escalate and not back down. And just for point of reference, I tell people that if there's a lot of relationships have over time, they develop a power imbalance, that one person has power over the other person. And what I tell people is that as you do more of the work, you stand up to the person, you escalate, and you don't back down. Because what the other person is used to being able to do is you would stand up and then they would escalate and then you would back down. And that's how they would reestablish that power imbalance and be able to get their way and get you to keep serving them, do what they want. Devil Blues asks the natural follow-up question to that, saying, hi, Sven, you say escalate and not back down, but what do we do when met with palpable aggression? I'm going to open this one up to the peanut gallery. All right, peanuts, let's all chime in here and give your opinions on what Devil Blues should do when you escalate. So let's say you're saying, no, I'm not going to take that. You don't get to treat me that way. Or I don't agree with you. Or wait a minute, my needs matter too. And then Devil Blues partner, and for your purposes, you don't know if Devil Blues is male or female, and you don't know if Devil Blues partner is male, female, or non-binary, whatever. All right, so gender is out of the question, and Devil Blues partner meets Devil Blues escalation by escalating to palpable aggression. What does the peanut gallery say Devil Blues should do? Weird Horst on TikTok says, leave. JKM750 says, take a deep breath, pause, and ask, what can I do to make the situation better? JB says, walk away. Jennifer Kirto says, walk away. Miller420 says, equal force. Elizabeth Wilson on Facebook says, it's time to leave. You getting any feedback on YouTube, Rob? Let me know if you are.
Buckaroo Banzai says, time to walk away.
Ramona Lee, Facebook says, I quietly gather things and leave as I have been there cornered. Heather Rosinski, time to get out. I think you're getting your answer here, Devil Blues. Someone who is responding with palpable aggression is using the only tool they have, and that is physical force. You do not want to be in a relationship with someone who is using physical force to keep you down. Period. You do not want that. You may think, oh, I can't do it on my own. You may think, oh, but when it's good, it's great. You may think, but what about the kids? You may think a million fucking things. Get out. And let me tell you why. Because in about a year or 5 years, that palpable aggression or your misery of living in that power imbalance is going to get so great. You're finally going to reach what I talk about in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, as the screw it point or the fuck it point, where I don't even care anymore. I'm getting out. I don't even care if I can't do it. I'm going to figure out a way. And you are going to say for the next 5 years, why didn't I get out sooner? Well, now is your sooner. Now is your sooner. Your older self is thanking you if you get out now. Your older self is saying to you right now, why didn't you get out now? You know, why don't you get out now? Ramona Lee is saying on Facebook, this is my child. In other words, I have a kid going through it right now. JKM is saying, yes, if it's physical, definitely get out. Beth is saying, I'm living that right now after he blocked my way. Yep, that's exactly right. All right, next question. Moving forward. Lisa Cole on TikTok says, hi, Sven. Hi. Do you have an opinion on the quote unquote trend of adult children estrangement? I do. I have a very strong opinion on the trend of adult children estrangement. I see it a lot, and I actually counsel it a lot. We talk about it on the show a lot. I have on our counseling shows, which air on Thursdays. This is our lightning round episodes, which air on Sundays. I actually counsel people who are going through it. Contrary to popular myth, most of the people doing it, in my experience on the show, and we have millions of followers, and in my counseling practice, most of the ones doing it are not in their 20s or even teens. It's people in their 30s and 40s and in their 50s. And the response of most of the parents is, why don't these young people take responsibility for what they did in the relationship. To which I respond, why don't the adults take responsibility for what they did? And the overarching trend that I see is parents not wanting to take responsibility for the extraordinary amount of pain that they inflicted on their children. Because what you have to understand is in those first 20 years, and actually for the subsequent 10, 20 years, but especially in those first 20 years, the parents had all the power. Just like that relationship we just talked about of a power imbalance, with a parent and a child, that power imbalance is massively greater. Back when I was a pastor, you guys know this, I was a pastor for off and on for 15 years, served a few different parishes. And in one of the parishes, I ran the confirmation program. And the confirmation program started in 6th, 7th grade, whatever it was. And I would bring all the new confirmation students into my office in twos. And I would sit them on the couch and I'd, sit at my desk and we'd talk and just get to know them 30 minutes. And one of the questions I would open with is, give me 3 words to describe each of your parents. And I always took notes and so forth. And then we'd talk about, family and sports and, drama and just whatever they were involved in. It was just my getting to know them. And then as we were going along, I'd ask about their, Sunday school and what, their involvement with the church was and just getting to know them. And then at the end, I'd ask them, give me a few words that you would use to describe God. And someone would say, I'm an atheist. And I'd say, great, let's have that conversation. Or they'd say, here are my 3 words to describe God, whatever. Invariably, listen to this, folks. Invariably, the words that they used to describe God were the exact same words they used to describe their parents. Fascinating, isn't it? Time and time again, with slight variation. What's my point? That's a cousin of the larger point I'm making, that when the child is a child, the parent is God. Not just in terms of perfection and so forth, but in terms of power. The parent has all the power. With power comes massive responsibility. So for a parent to later claim, well, what about the child, what the child did to me? The parent had all the power. You had all the responsibility, parent. So anything the child is doing to you is either part of the natural cycle of a child, like a teenager yelling at a parent, I hate you. That is so fucking normal. All right, get out of it. The child doesn't exist to meet your needs. A teenager yelling at the parent, I hate you, and stomping off and slamming a door, that's about as normal as the sun rising in the east, all right? But a child loving a parent, every single one of my clients, every single person on my show, even who has gone through the worst stuff, at the depths of who they are, the essence of who they are, they still long to connect with the parent. They still long for affirmation of worth, approval, acceptance by the parent, even when they've gone through the worst stuff. And as I talk about in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, children love parents more than parents love children. What am I saying? A child will endure far more at the hands of a parent than a parent would ever endure at the hands of a child. And people say that's insane. And then I step them through and I help them see how true it is. What's my point? For a child, an adult child, to walk away from a parent or distance a parent is an astronomically difficult thing to do. The pain that they have to have endured and the lack of remorse, which is oftentimes the worst part. The lack of atonement, the lack of ownership is so great as to outweigh this massive love. And very often the parents still won't own their shit. They're still blaming the child because what? The more we invest in a child, it becomes part of our ego, or even just having a child becomes part of our ego. I was a good parent. I didn't do all that shit. We refuse to accept our own culpability. Why? Because it's hard to admit I wasn't perfect. It's hard to admit I made big mistakes. I fucked up. I have a 34-year-old and a 30-year-old child. It was hard to admit I made big mistakes and I hurt my children, even if it wasn't intentional. And it's hard on the ego. But the more I own it, the more I take those giant rocks of pain that I put in the bag on my child's back, I take those rocks out and I help them heal. And what does it cost me? Some ego? And the child is fundamentally saying, by walking away or creating distance, I need you to own the pain that you've caused me. I need you to acknowledge my reality. And the parents are saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I have to protect my ego at the expense of you. I have to protect my ego at the expense of you. Go ahead, Rob.
There's a great comment here which underscores this from Sophie Sisley, who says, my daughter did a 30-day timeout from all communication. At the end, I told her how proud I was of her, and she used the time for counseling and healing. It makes her stronger. I have full support for this.
I think that's fantastic, Sophie, up on YouTube. And with some kids, it's 30 days. With some kids, it's 3 years. Some make permanent because the parent just refuses to acknowledge all the pain that they've caused. But the responsibility for healing is always on the entity that has the greater power. And so by the child creating that distance, they are saying, I have power too. I have the power to say no. And you don't get to hurt me anymore. And you're refusing to acknowledge the pain you caused me hurts me. And it's really no different. I mean, if you're to that parent, to that adult, and I was that person, all right? I made huge mistakes with my kids that I had to atone for. Well, shoot, would I apologize to Rob if I hurt him? Would I apologize to my parents if I hurt them? Let's say in their 70s or their 90s, you bet I would. Would I apologize to my boss or somebody, a client, if I hurt a client? Of course. So why would I not apologize to my own parent, my own child? Why? Because in the past, I had all the power. I didn't have to apologize to them. I had all the power. I'm king shit. So the question is then, am I in favor of kids saying, yes, you have adult kids in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s, and I see it at all ages. I swear to God, all ages. It's not just 20s. I see it most in people in their 30s and 40s. Am I in favor of that? Yes, because you're finally standing up for yourself. You're finally saying, I matter, to the people who are the single most powerful people in your life, and that's your mother and your father. One more question, then we're going to take a short break. And somebody said, were you enrolled at the Air Force Academy? Yes, I was. I was a cadet for 2 years, and then I punched, and that's when I felt a call to ministry. And I went on to become a Lutheran pastor and did that off and on for 15 years while building my counseling practice, writing books, etc. All right, much more to come right after this short break.
You've heard Sven talk a lot about his book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. And that's because Sven hears from his followers a lot about how much the book has helped them. If you're not sure how to handle the issues getting in the way of a better life, you're not alone. And you have a lot of choices. But thousands of readers will tell you that this is a great place to start, by yourself and at your own pace. So go to badasscounseling.com and order There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and you'll have Sven right there with you as you forge your best future. It's totally badass. So get started today.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with a lightning round of the Badass Counseling Show. We're having a hot one today, folks. Lots of great questions. Here we go. Woo! Come on now. Let's go. All right. Dawn Jones on Facebook lights it up with a great question. This is one that afflicts a lot of people. Dawn Jones says, what about healing after your parents are gone, deceased? A lot of people believe, first of all, I'm going to say a lot of people believe that, hey, you know what? When my parents are gone, we had this big rift and fallout with my parents, blah, blah, blah. And when they're gone, all my problems will be gone. I love that. Yeah, good luck with that one, sugar tits. Male or female, good luck with that one. No, the problems aren't outside of you and your parents. That may take some of the pressures off. No, the problem's inside of you. All the pain, all the hurt, all the sadness, all the anger is inside of you. So you're going to have to deal with it. And that stuff's still there. It may lighten because maybe some of their immediate pressures are off. Well, how do you heal after your parents are gone? You cut to the fundamental issue, Dawn, and that is such a concise question. I love it because it identifies the grand myth of healing. One of the grand myths, and I so love you. I want to give you a big hug for that question, Dawn. Truly. The grand myth of healing is that you need something from someone in order for me to heal. Myth. I always tell my clients, very first day in the opening 15 minutes, I have about 5 boxes that we check that I absolutely have to hit with them. They have to know right up front. And one of those is, I don't need you to confront anyone in real life, any living, breathing person, in order for me to heal you. You don't need anything from any external person in order for me to heal you, in order for you to heal. That's the myth. Well, my parents are deceased. How can I heal? Because the problem isn't outside of you. The damage was done when you were 5, when you were 7, when you were 13. It was the messages. And this is the fundamental premise of my book. There's a hole in my love cup. In my follow-up book, Badass Wisdom. All right? All of my books. And the next one coming out, even the one that I have coming out on cheating. All of it cuts to the fundamental premise that it's not about the pain that was caused to you. Yes, that's part of the issue. The fundamental premise is it's about the core beliefs that you were taught to believe about yourself that got pressed into the wet cement of your soul. Like when the men and women in the roads department are coming, putting in new sidewalks out in front of your house, and they smooth it real fast. What's that tool called? The real smoothie one. I always forget the name of it. Anyway, they smooth it, then they put the tape around it when they go off to lunch and then go home at the end of the day so all the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood won't come out and walk in it and write their name on it and say, Tommy is a fink with a stick and stuff. But what do the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood do? They come out and they write in the fucking sidewalk in the wet cement, Tommy is a fink and Bobby loves Susie, right? They do that. That's what kids do. All right. Snot-nosed kids. Anyway, what's the point? Those messages that you were taught about yourself, often explicitly, but more often than not implicitly, with a look, with a shit. With the, yeah, right. With the nonverbals, with the verbals, with the guffaws, you got this explicit message, but then you got a completely different other message that undermined your sense of worth. All of those things contribute to your core beliefs that you were taught to believe about yourself that fundamentally circle around, as I talk about, and there's a hole in my love cup, available at badasscounseling.com. They taught you some derivative of you're not wanted / you're not wantable. You're not loved / you're not good enough. You're not lovable. Nothing you do will ever be enough. You're not worthy. And third, and the most powerful one, and that is who you really are doesn't matter. Fundamentally means who you really are doesn't exist. Those messages are so powerful. They get pressed into the wet cement of your soul, and they drive or they inflect every single decision of your life, most significantly, not just your career, not just your love, but your parenting. And I always tell people, nothing will more radically transform your parenting than you going back and healing yourself. So you ask the question, how do you heal if your parents are deceased? It has nothing to do with your living, breathing parents. There's nothing you need to say to them in real life. There's nothing you need to get from them, because at some level you believe that because they were the ones that deconfirmed my worth, the ones that stole my worth, the ones that taught me these messages, I need them to say I was wrong. You are good. You do have value. You are wantable. You are lovable. You are enough. You don't need it from them. What you have to do is it's the extraction of the old message. As my 93-year-old mother used to say for all those decades, and she did this shit long before I came around. She was doing this in the 50s. She used to say, naming the beast is half the problem. It requires the drilling inside, and I've given you the tools. I was in a 12-year suicidal depression. I created these tools because I had to get myself out of that 12-year suicidal depression. And I committed to helping as many people as I could, which is why I did 2.5 years living on the street, sleeping on concrete for 2.5 years, helping the drug-addled, the poor, and middle-aged or middle-class people. And now it's, CEOs and fucking award winners in Hollywood and all sorts of shit, helping people do exactly this quickly, people. Why? It doesn't have to fucking take forever. But you got to go deep. It depends on, do you have the balls to go deep? Next question. All right.
Here's a short one.
All right.
That I think this individual could use one of your traditional kicks in the ass.
Lay it on me, Rob.
Okay.
This is over on YouTube, by the way.
Right. From YouTube, Liam Daniels asks, how do I fix being a 25-year-old loser?
How do I fix being a 25-year-old loser? Liam, someone taught you to believe that you're a loser. 25-year-old or 25-year?
25 years old.
Liam, somebody taught you to believe that you're a loser. I would love to know, Liam, and if you want to type it in, Rob will tell me. I would love to know how long you have believed you were a loser. When you first were believed you were a loser. All right, I'm going to go on to the next question. You wait till that one comes up, unless it comes up right away.
Sven, also on YouTube, Valerie Dyke says, I've had two loves in my life, my mom and my ex. First half my life, my mom, second half my ex. Now I'm in my third part, and I love a lot of people, but as friends or friends with benefits, your thoughts, is that okay?
There seem to be two different things going on there. The setup is I've loved, two different people.
Love my mom, then I love my ex. And now I'm in my third stage. What I have are friends and friends with benefits. And she's wondering, is that okay?
Sure, why not? As long as you are choosing it. The question I always ask people is, the thing is, you can choose whatever you want to choose. If you're a grown-ass adult, you can choose whatever the hell you want, as long as you are choosing it and another person is choosing it with you and you are being upfront with them. So it's consenting adults shit. The only caveat I add to that, though, is, are you choosing it out of fear? Because if you are choosing this course out of fear, this friends with benefits thing out of fear, nothing wrong with it. Who gives a shit? You want to have friends with benefits? Have friends with benefits. Knock yourself out. Benefit the hell out of yourself. I don't care. But are you doing it out of fear? Because if you're doing it out of fear, I have bad news for you. Fear and happiness are inversely correlated. There are certain times in life, yes, when you have to have fear. When you're wading into the ocean. All right? You always have to have healthy respect for the ocean. I grew up in the lakes of Minnesota, right? I'm a good swimmer. I grew up in the Mississippi River. It was literally a block from my house. We had a rope swing that would swing into the Mississippi River. That is a powerful current in the Mississippi River. And I'm a good swimmer, but I ain't no ocean swimmer, all right? I did not go into the Navy for a reason. I fear the ocean, all right? Having respect for, like the ocean in one case, having respect for edges. When I go to the Grand Canyon, I have a healthy respect for gravity, all right? So there are times when fear is a good thing, but generally speaking, in life, as a general rule, fear and happiness are inversely correlated. So if you are choosing friends with benefits out of fear of a deeper engagement or out of fear of getting hurt again because of that deeper engagement, then you are doing it to stay safe. You are doing it because you have past pain that you don't want to have happen again, which means that past pain has to be healed. And that's a choice. If you want to live with friends with benefits, even if it's out of fear, what do I care? I don't give a shit. I'm still going to have a glass of bourbon at the end of the day. I don't care. Do it. It's your life. All I'm saying is, if you're trying to maximize your happiness, it means in the short term going into the pain that you've experienced as a result of those previous two relationships, but going into the deeper, longer ago pain from your childhood that those other two relationships are echoes of. You get all that pain out, and then you don't fear getting hurt again. Yes, it'll hurt. Yes, you will grieve, but you know that it won't nearly be as much as the pain you've already gotten out of you. Furthermore, you'll know you have the tools. You'll know you can trust yourself. See, right now, you don't think, if you're doing it out of pain, this friends of benefits thing, if you're doing it out of fear, you don't trust yourself. So you think, if I get hurt again, I won't be okay. You don't trust your own ability to grieve and to get all the pain out. You think it'll be a fate worse than death. It'll devastate you. But once you've done all the work of healing yourself from the deepest stuff, not just from your most recent, 20-year divorce, 20-year marriage and divorce, but the deepest stuff that's deep inside of you, once you've healed that, there's a tremendous sense of power and there's a tremendous sense of lightness. So any new pain is going to be smaller than anything you've already gone through, but also you'll know you have those abilities. Go ahead, Rob.
Valerie says 100%. I am letting them all know, yes, fear, I don't want my heart broke again.
Excellent. All right. I've got a question here.
I got Liam if you want.
Okay. Give us the backup on Liam again. What the issue, Liam is a 25-year-old who is convinced he's a loser. 25 years old, convinced he's a loser. Now, folks, just for a point of reference, we've all kind of been there a little bit. We've all kind of been, whether it was 20, 25, 30, whatever it is, we've all kind of been there and felt like, God, I'm a loser, or my friends are already succeeding, or gosh, my friends are already married. I'm 30 and my friends are already married, or whatever it is. We've all been there at different stages of our life. But my kind of breaks my heart a little bit to know that Liam is 25 years old and is already convinced he's a loser. It's a strong word, especially for a guy to say that about himself. So I asked Liam, when he initially posed the question, I asked Liam, at what age did you first believe you were a loser? We got Liam. He just wrote into Rob over on YouTube. We got his follow-up. Here we go. Go ahead, Rob.
Liam says, for years, man, I can't remember when it started.
Okay. I can't remember and 4 years. So we're going to put that at preteen. I'm just going to spitball. And if you want to tweak on that, if you got a better answer than preteen, like say, I'm just going to say 10 years old, randomly. Okay. If you got a better number, lay it on me, moo cow. We'll go with it. All right. That means a child was taught that he's a loser. You want to know how I know that, Liam? Because no child, and I've lectured at the graduate level in the field of early childhood development, early childhood spirituality at the graduate level. All right. My mother taught at the graduate level in the field of early childhood education. All right. So I'm a semi-expert in the field of early childhood development. All right. I'm going to tell you this. No child comes out of the womb saying, I suck. No child at 2 innately believes that they suck ass, metaphorically speaking. No child. Nope. That means for you to believe it at 25 or at 10 means that child was taught he's a loser. That child was criticized. That child was put down. That child had his sense of worth stolen from him. We started the show with the question from someone saying that basically that same thing of getting messages at a young age that here I am, Jebbe in Belgium saying that, my accomplishments, I feel like aren't even mine. And I said to him, it's because you got messages from early in life that you don't matter, that you suck. You were criticized and you've been criticized your whole life and you actually believe it now. Folks, we're on a theme here. This goes back to wet cement. One of the fundamental premises, operating premises of my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, is that when we are children, those messages we get pressed into the wet cement of our soul and they harden, they become the virus infecting the operating system of our lives. Dude, I am telling you, Lehman, you need to get the book. It will take you into it, help you identify where you got those messages, and it will help you jackhammer that cement that got poured on the bedrock of your soul that never needed any cement to begin with, right? You got messages. Someone taught a child to hate himself. Think about that, people. When you are criticizing your child, when you are dominating your child, making their decisions for them all the time, you're fundamentally telling them, you don't know what's best for you, I do. Or when you're telling your adult child, you're a 35-year-old, you should this, or why aren't you doing more of that? You know what you're fundamentally telling the child, the adult child? You're fundamentally telling, you don't know what's best for you, I do. In other words, you're an idiot, I'm smart, you should listen to me. Could you possibly insult another person more than saying that? Right, and we do it even more when children are young. And so we are fundamentally talking down to the child. We're telling them they don't have abilities. They're no good. We are draining their sense of worth. And so then they come to 25 years old and it's like, I'm a fucking loser when they aren't. A child was taught to hate on himself. A child was taught to be a loser. I got shitty news for you, Liam. You ain't and you never were. It was a lie. Somebody taught you to hate yourself. Get the fucking book, Liam. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It'll rock your shit. But you got to have the balls to do the journaling exercises and do them in writing. I got a follow-up here to an issue we were addressing earlier, okay? And this is the hot one, this idea of kids, parental estrangement, adult children in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s walking away from their parents. My Jenny Cakes on TikTok asked the question, what if you, the parent, what if you do acknowledge it over and over and they walk away anyway? Okay, a couple of things could be going on here. I don't know without knowing any more on it, Jenny. I'm going to assume your name is Jenny. There could be a number of reasons for this. One, they're simply asserting their power. They are establishing a new power dynamic. And what was mom and dad have all the power and I had no power and it was lorded over me, they are now establishing their power to be either greater or equal to. And that has to be cemented into place. And here's the thing. Okay, so it could be that they're just wanting to establish a new power situation where you just don't automatically get what you want, and where I'm seen as an equal in this relationship, and you're going to meet my needs too, or just you're going to respect me. 2, it could be that they don't see your acknowledgement as enough. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I did that and I'm so sorry, and I did that and I'm so sorry. But do you actually feel the pain you've caused them, or do you feel the pain it has caused you? Do you see the difference in that? Have you ever had someone apologize to you guys, and I'm saying this to everyone now, have you ever had someone apologize and you knew they were apologizing and they were saying the words, but it felt like a 50-cent apology for a $500 crime? Or you knew they were apologizing and you knew they felt the pain, but the pain that they were feeling was their pain, not your pain. They didn't feel bad for how you felt. They felt bad for how they felt. Okay? So it could be that they're not feeling like you actually feel it or you actually get it. You're acknowledging it, but you don't actually feel it and get it. Furthermore, what very often happens, and I ask kids, I tell this to parents a lot who are going through this. I say, if you had to choose between your child healing, but you don't get a relationship with them, your child healing for everything you've done to hurt them, but you don't get a relationship with them, or you do get a relationship with your child, but they're not healed from everything you did to them, which would you choose? It's a hard choice, isn't it? But that is the choice. Because the truth is, if you are not doing it to heal them, if you're doing it just to get them back, to get the relationship back, then ultimately you're doing it for yourself. And the child, if they're even moderately intuitive, will sense that you're just in it for you. I just want the relationship back because I want to get something out of it. I want you to go back to pouring some measure of love into my love cup. And the kid is saying, fuck you. Why is it always about you? Whereas if you're doing it to own your shit, knowing I may never get this child back, I just need to own it because I owe it to you, because I hurt you. Here's what I did wrong, X, Y, and Z, and it's fucking wrong. And even if you never forgive me, I understand. Even if I never get this relationship, I understand. I wounded you, and that's not okay. Now, if you're going in with that mentality, knowing you may lose them forever, but you're finally owning your shit for the pain you caused them, now that's worthy of respect. Now you got a shot. For if you are considering, wanting to atone for what you've done, if you are a parent, I strongly recommend that you go back to Christmas of 2023. I put up a video on most social. I'd recommend finding it on Instagram or TikTok just because they use thumbnails and it's easier to scroll back. I put it up on December 24th or 25th of 23. It is a video and it's the 7 things you can do to help your adult child heal. I'm in a bomber jacket sitting outside in the snow, in the New England snow, and it's very helpful. It gives you a list of 7 things you can do. All right, folks, this has been a fantastic, hopping fast episode. So on behalf of my team, Rob the Rocket, KC over in the booth, thank you for these monster questions. This has been wonderful. And I wish everyone an absolutely kick-ass day. Have a kick-ass day. Slay your demons.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.